Mounting questions for the security services and police over the London terror attack. The killers included an Italian who'd attempted to travel to Syria and a British jihadi known to MI5.
These are really reasonable questions that members of the public, journalists and I'm asking the police, and in due course they'll be answering what they did, what they knew, if things should have been done differently, what was done, so we can reassure the public.
A nurse who ran to help the injured is now known to have been killed. And there are fears that an Australian nanny is also among the 7 dead.
Very upset and emotionally distraught at this time. The family's trying to keep it together, but bracing for the worst.
London and the UK fall silent again in memory of those murdered on Saturday. Plus, terror in Paris. A man shouting "This is for Syria" is shot by police as tourists take refuge in Notre Dame.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. Britain's security services are facing more serious questions tonight as the identity of the third London Bridge terrorist was revealed. 22-year-old Yusuf Zagbar was an Italian of Moroccan descent who'd previously been stopped in Bologna from travelling to Syria. The Italian authorities insist they told MI5 he was on a watch list. It means at least 2 of the attackers had appeared on the security agency's radar at some point. An in-depth review into the police and MI5's handling of the atrocity will now be carried out. Here's our security editor, Rohit Khatri.
We now know their names, the people behind this, the terrorists responsible for the London attack. A 3-man rampage which left 7 dead and 48 injured. But before those 8 minutes of terror, there were years of radicalisation, and now questions about what could have been done. The third attacker, who was named today, was a subject of interest to counter-terrorism police in Italy. A home raided in Ilford this morning, the town where he came to live. More details have emerged about the third attacker, 22-year-old Yusuf Zagbar, an Italian man of Moroccan descent. In March 2016, he was stopped by Italian police when he tried to fly to Turkey from Bologna airport. They believed he was attempting to travel to Syria. When his phone was then confiscated, it's reported that they found ISIS videos. Italian security services say they passed a dossier about Zagbar to British intelligence last April.
The only English white person who's a non-Muslim was part of our group.
Quran Butt was as close as this group had to a ringleader. He was the television terrorist, star of The Jihadi Next Door. His primetime appearance on a documentary was not sufficient, though, to place the former tube worker on a terror watch list. Inside the gym where he trained, where others remembered a normal man who occasionally brought religion into the boxing ring.
I only remember that one time, he teaches little kids like how to box and stuff like that, and then this one time he got in a little conversation. You can't call it an argument because he was quiet and all that, about religion with some Middle Eastern guy that used to come here. He didn't mean it because he said Jesus. He said it's just bad to say the Lord's name like that. But
the prominent leader of a think tank had already reported Butt after he confronted him.
Current Butt decided to shout out profanities towards me, including the term murtad, which is an insult, which is a translation would be traitor, which is the worst insult you can give to a Muslim because that takes you out of the fold of Islam.
Then there's Rashid Redwan, a Moroccan-Libyan man who wasn't known to the authorities. But today it emerged that he married an Irish woman in 2012. Here's the record, which allowed him to apply for documentation to live legally in the UK. This is now another investigation, where the investigators themselves have questions to answer.
Well, the counter-terror agencies will face particular scrutiny over what they knew about Khurram Butt, and as Rohit said, he appeared on a TV documentary about jihadis, and further details have emerged about his terror links. Juliet Bremner reports on the intelligence failings.
He made no secret of his hardline jihadist views, so extreme he was reported to the police. Yet 27-year-old Karim Butt was still free to kill. Apparently happy to be filmed unfolding the flag of so-called Islamic State for a documentary.
I can't help but think that he's being actively provocative.
Immediately after this, he was confronted and detained by police, but they decided he'd broken no laws, one of what now appears to be several missed chances.
The focus of the police and the security experts is on the attack on Saturday, on the investigation. These are really reasonable questions that members of the public, journalists, and I'm asking the police, and in due course they'll be answering what they did, what they knew, if things should have been done differently, what was done, so we can reassure the public.
With him! With the Dawood!
As a member of Anjem Chowdhury's band Al Mujaroon group, Khurram Butt had links with several well-known jihadists. Perhaps most prominent, this man, Saditha Dar.
These are the black flags of Islam.
Who travelled to Syria with his wife and 4 children while on bail accused of encouraging terrorism. Now known as Abu Remesa, he's thought to be the man in the mask carrying out executions in IS propaganda videos. This is the spot in front of Regent's Park Mosque where Butt and fellow extremists publicly declared their support for so-called Islamic State. The Metropolitan Police confirmed they also had tip-offs to a hotline warning about his jihadist views. And they did launch an investigation, but decided that no attack was planned. Therefore, he wasn't made a priority. It seems they discounted the possibility that Butt could go on to commit a crime like the London Bridge attack.
It's an impossible task to monitor everybody all of the time because it would take so much resource, and you would just get lost in a fog of so much intense information.
The harsh reality is that Karim Butt was not just an outspoken extremist, he was also a committed terrorist. Juliet Bremner, ITV News.
OK, well, our security editor, Rohit Khatri, joins me now. Rohit, it would seem to be increasingly clear that these men were pretty well known to the authorities.
Yeah, not only do we have Butt, who Juliet reported on, who talked about his extremism on television, who was reported by high-profile members of the Muslim community, but we have this third attacker who was named today, who tried to get to Syria from Italy, where he was living. Now, the Italians say they passed a dossier of evidence to the British authorities. British sources are telling me tonight that there was no dossier. If there was any information passed, it was fairly sketchy, but certainly no dossier. It does appear, though, that this was someone who was on the radar in Italy who somehow managed to slip off it when he went to the UK. The question is how that managed to happen.
All right, Rohit Khatri, thank you. A nurse who bravely ran to help those hurt in Saturday's attack is the latest victim to be named today. 28-year-old Kirsty Bowden from Australia worked at nearby Guy's Hospital. Her family say they were so proud of her actions and that she'd been heroic throughout her life. As Rebecca Barry reports, it came as Prince Charles paid tribute to the victims and a minute's silence was observed across the country.
In a city shocked by terrorism, a rare moment of quiet to reflect and remember those no longer here. And in another city still recovering from tragedy, they showed solidarity. As they did right across the UK. And now we know the names of more of those killed. 28-year-old Australian Kirsty Bowden, described as an outstanding nurse. She worked at Guy's Hospital, just next to London Bridge. Her family say she was loved and adored and died trying to save others. As she ran towards danger in an effort to help people on the bridge, Kirsty sadly lost her life. We are so proud of Kirsty's brave actions, which demonstrate how selfless, caring and heroic she was, not only on that night, but throughout all of her life. Kirsty, we love you and we will miss you dearly. And 27-year-old Alexander Pijard, named by French media as one of the 7 people killed. But some families are left in agonising limbo, waiting for news of their missing loved ones. Australian Sarah Zelenak worked as a nanny in London and was on a night out with friends on Saturday, but hasn't been heard from since.
Sarah's absolutely beautiful. She is the girl next door. She is a very special, kindred spirit. She's amazing and she's 21 years of age.
There was a royal visit for those who survived, but will forever be scarred, physically and psychologically. 32 people are still being treated in hospitals, 15 of them in a critical condition. The fact that many of those injured or killed on Saturday were from other countries reflects London's status as a global city. Sadly, that also means the pain and grief is now being felt by families right across the world. Rebecca Barry, ITV News.
Well, there was a reminder today of the unprecedented terror threat right across Europe. In Paris, a man shouting, "This is for Syria," attacked police with a hammer and knives outside Notre Dame Cathedral. The attacker was shot and injured. Sejal Karia has the latest.
Panic on the streets of Paris, at one of the city's most famous landmarks and one of its most visited, Notre Dame Cathedral. Inside, hundreds of people were barricaded in and asked to put their hands on their heads as this world-renowned church was put on lockdown. Outside, police were investigating an attack on a policeman. On the pavement, a man lay on the ground as French authorities confirmed an attacker wielding a hammer and carrying knives assaulted a police officer, shouting, "This is for Syria," before he was shot and injured. The officer wasn't seriously hurt. Heavily armed officers were quickly deployed to the scene, and there was a huge police presence in the area as officials began a counter-terrorism investigation. The recent focus of terror activity may have shifted to Britain with the attacks in London and Manchester, but France is still on high alert, and this was yet another reminder of the threat facing the whole of Europe. Sejal Karia, ITV News.
Still to come on the ITV Evening News, a final push for votes with just 36 hours to go until the general election. And the Millwall fan hailed a hero for fighting back against the London terrorists. And those stories and more after the break. Join me then. Welcome back. With just a little over 36 hours to go until polls open for the general election, the main party leaders have been cramming in as much campaigning as they possibly can. Theresa May was keen to put into focus back on leadership. Jeremy Corbyn continued to pull in the crowds, and Tim Farron called on a friend for help. Political correspondent Romilly Weeks on the last-minute push for votes.
Theresa May and her battle bus were squeezing in every last possible campaign stop today. Even this farm in North Wales got a look in. Determined to give the impression the air hasn't left the Tory campaign, after the row over police cuts at her first rally of the day, she was on the defensive over security.
Who do you trust to maintain your national security? Somebody who has boasted that he has opposed every piece of anti-terror legislation since he came into Parliament. Or me and the Conservatives. As Home Secretary, I put through strengthened anti-terror legislation.
Jeremy Corbyn has shown that he can draw large crowds throughout this campaign, although largely in safe Labour seats. Today, though, he risked a marginal constituency, Telford. His supporters boosted by the feeling that their man, once written off, is the one with momentum.
We're nearly the end of this election campaign, and we've done dozens and dozens of events all over the country. And you know what? Everywhere we go, the crowds get bigger. People are determined to show that this election can be won by Labour, but we're also offering something very different to the Conservatives. We're offering hope, they're offering something else.
And do they work, you work 24 hours a day, or what's it going to be?
Maybe not 24/7, but Tim Farron has been putting in the shifts himself. Today, Nick Clegg, though, was drafted in to give their campaign a bit more welly, amid signs that the Lib Dems' anti-Brexit message is falling flat.
The Liberal Democrats standing alone and holding the government to account is something which I think, first of all, I'm very proud of. It's what I think it's right, and history will judge us well. And in the months to come, I'm convinced we'll be proved right.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Labour is holding 6 simultaneous rallies in England, Scotland and Wales this evening. Jeremy Corbyn will be basking in the endorsement of the likes of Steve Coogan. Theresa May, for her part, was not missing a chance to look prime ministerial. Whether she gets 5 more years with that red box, we'll know very soon. Romilly Weeks, ITV News, Westminster.
Quick look at other news now. Police investigating the disappearance of a teenage mother 14 years ago have started exhuming several graves. Natalie Putt was 17 when she went missing from her home in Dudley after leaving to visit a local shop. Her son was just 11 weeks old. Detectives say a review of the case has led them to a local cemetery. A dog breeder's been jailed for 18 months after his pets left a 2-year-old girl with life-changing injuries. Andrew McGowan from Liverpool had left 4 of the animals in his garden when they escaped next door and attacked the toddler. Police say strong winds may have caused a tree to fall on a car, killing the driver. The accident happened in Oldham in Hampshire this morning. The 48-year-old driver died at the scene. And Amal and George Clooney have become parents to twins, a girl and a boy named Ella and Alexander. In a statement, their publicist said mother and babies are healthy and happy and joked that George is under sedation. And finally, of all the tales of courage to emerge from the London Bridge attack, that of Roy Lana perhaps stands out. The passionate Millwall supporter was drinking in a bar when the knife-wielding terrorists burst in. But Roy didn't run away. He stood his ground to confront the killers with his bare hands, saving lives but getting himself stabbed as a result. Now, as he recovers in hospital, Roy's mum told ITV News she's not at all surprised by his bravery, as Richard Pallow reports.
The scars tell the story of a man lucky to be alive. The thing is, others surely owe their lives to him. Roy Lana single-handedly confronted the 3 attackers in a London Bridge pub on Saturday night. They had 12-inch blades. He had his fists.
I was determined not to let them in. I was stopping them getting into the restaurant to stop them attacking the children and families in there. I feel quite proud of myself doing what I did. I've got slashes to the arms and hands, stabbed in the side of my stomach, chest. I've got slashes on my neck, head.
This way around the kitchen.
Plenty of brave acts from both staff and the public have emerged from the several bars targeted. But few people put themselves in harm's way, quite like Roy, whose mother this afternoon said she was full of admiration, even if she wasn't surprised one little bit.
Well, I said, that's Roy. If anyone has a go at him, he just has a go back, whether he gets the worst or not. And that's how he is. Well, he's a Millwall fan. What do you expect? He'll stand up to anybody.
He may be football and Millwall mad, but for reading while he recuperates, Roy's friends have got him an athletics magazine instead. Its title, a none too subtle piece of advice from them. Richard Pallow, ITV News.
Proud mum there. And you can read more about Roy and other acts of bravery on our website itv.com/news. But that is all for now. Raggy Omar will be here with news at 10. But from me and all the team, have a good evening. Bye-bye.